Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest installment of Secretary of Shade. I'm going to wait for everyone to get in. It's been a while, but this is a good one. Today, we are going to be breaking down Super Tuesday, okay? We're going to be breaking down how it works, the components, where do we go from here. Now, for those of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube, this is prior to all of the delegates being tabulated for Super Tuesday. There are a number of states voting today. I hope everyone in those states did exercise their right to vote who is a Democrat. I'm going to wait for everybody to file in. What's going on, Robin? How you doing, my love? Lisa, what's going on, Lisa Wicks? Martin, you're here. Let's see. Michelle from North Carolina. What's going on? Darlene. Hey, Darlene. As always, I love Darlene. Shout out to Darlene Foy. What's going on, Teresa? New Jersey in the house. So we're going to wait for everybody to get in. You guys are following in pretty quickly today. But once again, we're going to be breaking down Super Tuesday. Just a brief overview of what the show is going to be consisting of today. Also, we're going to get into Public Enemy firing Flava Flav. Also want to touch base on just a bit of local Maryland news in regards to about 4,000 gun cases, firearm cases being under review, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm just going to wait for a few people to go in. Shout out to my Los Angeles, California cabinet. I had a great time. I was in LA for about 5 days. Not only doing some business, but also celebrating a friend of mine's birthday in Malibu. We had a great time. In the hills. I recommend if anybody gets the chance to have that California hills experience. I highly recommend it. So we're going to get started. So, basically, Super Tuesday. So we've been seeing this all over news today. We've been seeing it the last few days. A couple of candidates have dropped out. Of course, to note, Pete Buttigieg dropped out. Amy Klobuchar dropped out. So far as it stands right now, the only Democratic candidates left are, of course, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Michael Bloomberg, and Tulsi Gabbard. Like, bitch, I so forgot about her, but she's still here. And I just don't get it. But anyway, we're not going to give her press because really she shouldn't even still be getting press. But that's another story for another day. So with Super Tuesday, basically how it works, Super Tuesday is when about 14 states go to vote for who they would like to be the presidential winner, candidate, nominee, however you want to put it, for the Democratic Party. Tuesday, of course, Super Tuesday is what it's been affectionately dubbed over the years. Basically, it's a lot of delegates. The way that this works is with Super Tuesday, who you win delegates, okay, as far as based on the votes that you get in each district. So I'm going to go over what is a delegate. So basically, the Democratic Party uses what's called pledged delegates and super delegates. Pledged delegates are basically elected or chosen at a state or local level with the understanding that they support a particular candidate at the Democratic National Convention. So just a brief, wide overview, and then we're going to break it down. Democratic National Convention happens. We get down to the final candidates based on the delegate count or who haven't dropped out by then. Based on the voting that happens today and at these other primaries, those delegates go to that candidate. Whoever gets, you need approximately 1,991 pledged delegates in order to win. So I'm going to break this down, right? So it's a total of 4,765 total Democratic delegates Out of that 4,765, 714 of those are super delegates, okay? In order to win outright, so based on all of these primaries that are going on right now, Super Tuesday being a big one because it's a bulk of the delegates, a good percentage rather. If, like, say whoever your candidate is gets to 1,991 delegates, pledged based on these votes, this primary voting, they basically win the nomination. That's how it's supposed to work. If you get 1,991, you outright win. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, what happens is this, okay? If you don't get 1,991 delegates, then at that point, the convention can be contested, okay? When the convention is contested, then that's where those super delegates come into play. So that 714 super delegates, they can vote for whoever they want. So I'm going to put this in perspective for you. Let's say you're voting for Bernie, you're rooting for Bernie, and he gets a good amount of delegates, and I'm using this because this is exactly what's happening right now. He gets a good amount of delegates, right? But it's not that 1,991. And let's say somebody like Joe Biden has, let's say, 1,400 delegates. If he was to get the full 714 super delegates, he wins the nomination. Even though it was close, because he got those super delegates. If you're following me, I hope you're following me, because it's a lot to cover. If he gets those super delegates because the convention is contested, he wins the nomination. So here's how this works. If I'm a moderate Democrat, and I say to myself, Bernie's too harsh, Elizabeth, they're just not, I don't know. What then happens is this. All of those delegates that went to Buttigieg, all those delegates that went to Klobuchar, those delegates that went to Tulsi, Bloomberg, whoever got those delegates are taken away from the total count, right? So, basically, then the Democratic National Committee essentially decides who the candidate is going to be. So what happens is this. Basically what I'm saying is this. If the public is not fully behind a particular candidate and it's split, which we know it is, we don't choose who the candidate is anyway. The Democratic National Committee does. Those super delegates. Because those super delegates, they're not obligated to the public. They can vote for whoever the fuck they want to vote for. Oh, bitch, I got paperwork, bitch. I did a research paper on this shit. Okay, now, we're going to get into, that's just the overview, bitch. We're going to get into what a delegate is. So, once again, pledged delegates are elected or chosen at the state or local level with the understanding that they will support a particular candidate at the convention. Pledged delegates are, however, not actually bound to vote for their candidate. Thus, the candidates are allowed to periodically review the list of delegates and eliminate any of those that they feel would not be supportive. Now, this is the same shit that's kind of like what happened with the Electoral College. Yeah, they don't have to vote for their candidate, but it's pretty much an unspoken rule that if the person wins the pledged delegates in the primaries, they're going to get the delegates, okay? That's always how it's been most of the time, and that's probably how it's going to continue to be. Of the 4,765 total delegates, so right now on Super Tuesday, about 1,344, and it's a lot of math, follow me. Right now on Super Tuesday, just in today's elections, out of these 14 states that are voting and territory, because American Samoa territory is voting today too, 1,344 delegates are up for grabs, okay? Now, what happens is this. The total is 4,765, right? So, out of that 714, which are usually Democratic members of Congress, governors, former presidents, and other party leaders and elected officials. they are not required to indicate preference for a candidate. In 2018, the Democratic Party, changed the rules to state that superdelegates would not get a vote on the first ballot unless the outcome was uncertain. Which I like that, because you can't sway, and I think that probably happened because of Bernie. I would have to research that from the last election. But basically, the rule now is that the superdelegates, the only way they get the vote is if a candidate basically doesn't get reach that 1,991 delegate threshold, which, looking at the way things are going, nobody's going to reach that. And that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because I would love for the people to really make this decision, but I don't quite think it's going to go that way. So let's revisit this. Out of those 714 superdelegates, they are usually Democratic members of Congress, governors, former presidents, and other party leaders and elected officials. So, depending on how many people your candidate done pissed off, depending on how many people think your candidate is reckless and crazy, depending on if your candidate just doesn't gel with the ideals of some of these other folks, they're not going to get the delegates. What I'm basically telling you today is how Bernie Sanders is not going to get this nomination. This is what I'm telling you today. Because here's how it's going to play out, and this is my prediction. I could be wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't think that I'm wrong. Biden is going to get most of the South, although Bernie is favored to get Texas. I'm not mentioning Elizabeth Warren right now because really, even though I'm going to go on record now, since we're entering that phase, I am an Elizabeth Warren, supporter. I rock with her. But the reality is, she's not getting it. And that's just a fact. But what I'm telling you right now, for all of you Bernie people, if he does not reach that, because the only way he won't get this, he will get it, is if he reached that 1,991. And the way that it's going now, I don't think that that's going to happen. Okay? Now, as far as the way that it works, how these delegates are allotted, the Democratic Party uses what's called a proportional representation to determine how many delegates each candidate is awarded in each state. So say your candidate gets 50% of the vote. They get 50% of the delegates. But the way it works is you have to get at least 15% of the vote in order to get any delegates. So if you don't get at least 15% of the vote, your delegate count is 0. Okay? Are you guys with me? Are we here? Are we here? And it's a lot to cover. It's a lot to swallow. When I was researching it, it was impactful for me. But that's just a roundabout. You should always do more research, but that's how this works. So I'm telling you now, it is always going to come down to the numbers, the way that our system is based. It's not based on, I voted, so my vote is it's based on the numbers. We still, even in selecting the candidates, on both sides of the fence, it's kind of like that same electoral college kind of moment where, let's say in Super Tuesday, you got more votes per se, but you didn't get all of the delegates. You don't get the nomination. That's just how it works. And the way that it works is just like the electoral college system, where some states have more delegates than others. So, for example, today we got 14 states and one U.S. territory voting in the Super Tuesday. We got Alabama, American Samoa, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee. Shout out to Tennessee. And that's going to be sketchy because with the tornadoes, that will affect the votes. You got Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Virginia. Okay? Now, just to put this into perspective for you, we're going to pull out charts because, bitch, I got charts. So I'm going to run down the list of how many delegates all of these states are. Okay? these states house. So Alabama has 52 delegates. American Samoa Caucus has 6 delegates. Arkansas has 31 delegates. California has 415 delegates. So you want California. California, whoever gets California, that's a big win. Colorado, they have 67 delegates. Okay? Maine, 24 delegates. Massachusetts, 91 delegates. Minnesota, 75 delegates. North Carolina, 110 delegates, which if Biden does well in the South, which is predicted that's going to be big for him. Oklahoma has 37 delegates. Tennessee has 64. Texas has 228 delegates. Now, Bernie is favored to win Texas the last time I checked polling, but that could change because it's the South. Utah has 29 delegates. Vermont has 16 delegates, which Bernie Sanders is probably going to take all of those delegates because that is his home state. Warren may get Massachusetts, but I don't know. And Virginia has 99 delegates. Okay? So, in looking at these numbers, it's a lot up for grabs. Now, the reason, here's the thing. Now, remember I said how those delegates don't count towards, those delegates count towards your total number, count to that magic number of 1,991. You may be saying to yourself, DDM, what happens to the delegates that, for all of the people that dropped out, like the Klobuchars, the Pete Buttigieg? Those delegates are not counted until after all of the elections, all of the primaries are done. So basically what happens is, after they get a good idea of who's going to win that particular state, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically the gist of it, those delegates will then be redistributed to basically whoever wins. However, in some instances, those delegates will also be used to vote for whoever. So they could use whoever those delegates are that are left on the table after these primaries are over. They can vote for whoever they want. So this would explain why some people would say, well, why did Pete drop out? The reality is, if you're looking at the numbers in polling, and his team probably looked at that, we look at polling. The reality is, if you're not getting enough delegates to even get close to that 1,991, you're going to be distracting from who you want to win. Let's look at the big picture here. Pete, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, they have all come out to support Joe Biden. These are all moderate Democrats. So basically what they did, they removed themselves from the running so that those delegates can go to, hopefully, Biden. The problem with that is this. If your ass voted early, which in some of these cases, a lot of people did. I believe Colorado has a 60% early vote or mail-in vote. If you mailed in your vote, bitch, that's it. The only way you can change your ballot is if you're in some states, if your ballot hasn't been tallied, you can request a new ballot. If you haven't taken it in, like say you filled yours out but you ain't sent it off yet, you can get a new ballot, go directly to the polling place and do it. In some states you can do that. In some states, bitch, if you mailed that ballot off, it's over Shakova. Okay? That's it. Are y'all still with me? Leave a little heart or something, because this is a lot. But that's what happens. Now, what I also want to look into is this. What I want to go over is we had previous primaries prior to today, which is Super Tuesday. Now, we had the Iowa caucus, which was a goddamn mess. We had the New Hampshire primary, and we had the Nevada primary, as well as the South Carolina, which we recently had, which Joe Biden pretty much destroyed everybody in. Now, I'm going to go over the numbers, okay? In the Iowa caucus, Bernie Sanders got 12 of those delegates. Well, first I'm going to go, before we do that, I'm sorry. I'm going to go over the delegate count based on who received what so far. So Tulsi Gabbard, Michael Bloomberg, they ain't get shit. So they got 0 delegates. Amy Klobuchar had 7. Elizabeth Warren, before the results come in today from Super Tuesday, has 8. Pete Buttigieg had 26. Biden has 54. Bernie has 60. Okay? Now, the interesting thing is this. In Iowa, Bernie got 12 of those delegates. Biden got 6. Pete Buttigieg got 14. Elizabeth got 8. And Amy got 1. In the New Hampshire primary on February the 11th, Pete and Bernie tied. So Pete got 9, Bernie got 9, and Amy Klobuchar got 6. Joe and Elizabeth didn't get any. Okay? In the February 27th Nevada primary, Bernie got 24 of those delegates. So Bernie did good in Nevada. Joe Biden got 9. Pete Buttigieg got 3. Amy and Elizabeth didn't get any. Okay? In the South Carolina primary, Joe Biden got 39 of those delegates, of the available delegates. Bernie got 15, and everybody else got none. So in South Carolina, they was either voting between Bernie and Joe. And I want to look at this because here's the thing. And there was an article on this site, I believe The Nation, and they were explaining why in South Carolina, black voters did not vote for Joe Biden based on lack of information, but based on who they thought the rest of America would actually vote for. Translation, the rest of who white America would actually vote for. See, the thing is this, and they were kind of right. As we look at what's going on, look, think about what we just went over. They were kind of right. Black people be knowing. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anybody's better than, but black people, we know about it. Just like we knew when Trump's ass was going to win. Okay? Them people know that it's going to come down to 2. They, I don't want to say wasting the vote, but when you are a person of color in this country, if I'm an immigrant, there is a such thing as I don't want to waste my vote. I don't know what other way to say it. And the reality is, we know what it's going to come down to. Think about what we just went over. Super delegates, how that works. The establishment really does not like Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders doesn't hit that 1991, that 1991, he's not getting it. Bottom line is flat out. So these people said, I'm not going to waste my time voting for Elizabeth Warren, even though I think she has great leadership capability, and she clearly did the best out of anyone in these debates. I'm not wasting my vote on that. Why? Because we know that they're not voting a woman in office this time around. Why? I'm not voting on Pete Buttigieg because middle America, flyover country, this deep south, they're not voting a gay man in the office. I know that sounds harsh. And I know you may not agree with me. And I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just breaking down the logistics and the logic behind how people are doing things. Amy Klobuchar, sorry, you ain't spent enough time in the trenches, sis. Most of the country is just finding out who the fuck you are this year. I'm trying to figure out where the lie is. Taco, where's the lie? Help me find the lie. Can we locate the lie? Now, with all that being said, one person who I think actually I thought he would have let it ride through Super Tuesday and then dropped out was Pete Buttigieg. Because when you look at the breakdown, even though, Pete Buttigieg was actually beating Joe Biden in these early primaries. Think about it. In Iowa, Biden got 6 of those delegates. Pete got 14. In New Hampshire, Joe didn't get any. Pete got 9. In Nevada, Joe got 9, but Pete still got 3. The only reason why Joe is only 6 delegates away from Bernie is because of South Carolina. South Carolina single-handedly put him back in. So if I was Pete's team, I understand the logic about wanting those delegates to go to, not to cancel out the delegates. I'd have rolled it out to Super Tuesday. Now, the people who I think, like Amy Klobuchar dropping out, that made sense, sis. You was in the way. Nice lady, beautiful gowns, but you was in the way. Elizabeth, because I love her, I love that she's sticking in, but the reality is, Elizabeth, you only got 8 damn delegates, Liz, and that was only in Iowa. In the rest of these primaries, you got 0. You didn't get any in New Hampshire, any in Nevada. You didn't get any in South Carolina. The only state that even remotely fucked with you was Iowa. Amy did at least get delegates in 2 states, not by much. Like, really, she would have had 0 in Iowa. She got 1. But, Liz, you only scored in 1 state, sis. And I love you to death, Liz. But, Liz. I'm just saying. So that's a lot to think about. Once we leave Super Tuesday, that's pretty much going to define how the rest of this race goes. Quite frankly. And the reality is, a lot of the people who like Pete Buttigieg, a lot of the people who are pro Amy Klobuchar, and some of these other candidates, they don't skew Bernie. So the reality is, and I'm going to say this again, and if you watch these meetings, if you've attended these cabinet meetings over time, I'm not even the biggest Bernie Sanders fan. But I do believe in the people having a voice. And I think I'm going to put it like this. If Bernie just does terrible on Super Tuesday, then it was the will of the people. If he gets close, if he gets close, and the convention ends up being decided by super delegates, and he loses, a lot of people are going to feel shafted. So I'm praying that it's decided by the people. And after Super Tuesday, we still got other states left, because it is 50 states in this United States of America. We got what? The Idaho primary, the Michigan primary, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Washington, Arizona, Florida, Illinois, Ohio, Georgia, Puerto Rico, Alaska, in April, Hawaii, Louisiana, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Connecticut, Delaware. Basically, bitch, the rest of the country. Okay? So you got but the rest of these states, as I'm looking at the number count, with the exception of like New York, Illinois, Florida, the rest of these states, Georgia, Ohio, the rest of these states, it's like, So I'm hoping that it is really decided by the people. I really hope that that is the case. I hope everybody got something from that. If you did understand, or you was with me, I know it's a lot. I did a lot of research, guys. Just leave a heart or a comment or something. Just let me know that you're still here. Okay. Now, with that being said, just something a little bit more lighter, and this, I felt like this was something that was newsworthy because it shows how much politics has just bled into. We are living in politics in this country. Okay? We are living in politics. Okay? Public Enemy. Flava Flav. Now, for some of our younger cabinet members, you know him from Flava Love, bitch. I ain't gonna front. I knew who he was before that, but Flava Love gave him a second life. So basically, Public Enemy minus Flava Flav performs at the Bernie Sanders rally. Flava Flav did not perform. He sent a cease and desist letter. I didn't even know shade, and I don't want to be judgmental, but I was like, oh my God, Flava Flav knows how to get a lawyer to send a cease and desist. But Flava Flav sends a cease and desist letter basically saying, don't use my likeness. It's not, the whole Public Enemy, X, Y, Z. Now, Flava, goes on Twitter. Are you kidding me right now? This is what he's saying to Chuck D. Are you kidding me right now over Bernie Sanders? You want to destroy something we've built over 35 years over politics, all because I don't want to endorse a candidate. I'm very disappointed in you and your decisions right now, Chuck. He also goes, I'm not on drugs like you're saying and have been clean for 10 years. If he's been clean for 10 years, clap for Flava Flav. I have no reason to not believe him. I have battled addiction before, and like millions of other Americans, I know the massive toll it takes. Ha ha! Well played, Flava. Chuck, you know better than to lie about shit like that. So, he's saying he didn't perform because he didn't want to endorse Bernie Sanders, which is fine. And I personally feel like if a person, because by performing, even if it's just, we doing this gig, if you perform at a political candidate's thing, you basically endorsing that candidate, bitch. That's all I'm saying. I get what Flava's saying from that perspective. If I don't like Trump, I'm not going to perform at his goddamn rally. Why would I do that? What's that, Michelle? Now, Chuck D is saying something altogether different. Now, Chuck D is saying, basically, what is he saying? Okay, so Chuck D is basically saying that Flava didn't want to do the rally, not because he gives a fuck about the politics, but because it's not paid. This was considered a free public performance. So Chuck is saying, you don't know the difference between Bernie Sanders or Bernie Sanders, bitch. You wanted a check. If it was a check involved, your ass would have been there with the clock, the teeth, the horns. You'd have probably pulled Brigitte Nelson out this bitch. If it was a coin involved, it ain't got shit to do with the politics. Okay? So Chuck D like, fuck this shit. You're not going to sit there and play this game. Okay? Now, they fired him on Sunday night. Okay? All right? So, the group is an offshoot of Public Enemy. Okay? And they do shows without Flav, which they've been doing for a little bit off and on. And this is according to TMZ. Yes, it's TMZ, bitch. But when it comes to entertainment, I'm sorry, TMZ be on it. Okay? Fact is, Flav and Chuck haven't been cool for years, allegedly. Ever since Flava Flav sued the group over profits he claimed he was owed. Now, I don't keep up with Public Enemy, so I didn't know Flava Flav was out here filing lawsuits and shit. I had no fucking clue, okay? So he fired, Flav was like, bitch, I need my coin, okay? So Chuck D goes on Twitter, he's saying, the last final note was my last straw was long ago. It's not about Bernie with Flav. He don't know the difference between Bernie Sanders or Bernie Sanders. He don't know either. Flav refused to support Sankofa, which is Harry Belafonte's foundation that inducted us. He didn't do that either because it wasn't paid. So Flava only wants to show up when it's paid. And here's the thing. I get that. I get that you want your coin if you're appearing, because I'm going to be honest. Everybody and their mother got a charity. Everybody and their mother got an organization and shit. Everybody wants you to do something free for a good cause. I get it. I can relate, bitch. But at the same time, Public Enemy's branding, and this is where I think Chuck D gets it more, their branding was all about fighting the system, organizing, politics, disrupting, things like that. In an election cycle like this one, why the fuck would you not be doing these events? I'm sorry, guy. You're that guy. You're that group. This is a group that you signed up to be in. Now, what you could be doing, Flavor, is you could have, if I'm Flava Flav, if I'm Public Enemy, right? Check this out. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do a few, maybe one or two free political things. But you know how I flip that? If you worried about your money, I would have went ahead, activated my Twitter, sold Public Enemy Fight the Resistance t-shirts. Not saying they don't have merch now, but I'd have killed my merch game. And they may be doing that. I'd have reissued my CDs, did a new edition package or some shit. What I would have did was I would have did Public Enemy Faces the Future or Public Enemy Against the Future. And you know what I would have did? I would have took our most memorable songs. I'd have had new artists come and remix the shit. I'd have put it out on a motherfucking record label, issued merch, did my own political concert, charged tickets for that bitch, donated a portion of the proceeds to a political foundation or some whatever, Flint, whatever. That's how you do it. It's a win-win. Everybody's happy. You get your coin. You fulfill the image that Public Enemy is. You're aware. Okay? Am I wrong, y'all? That's just me. And I'm not saying I'm the best businessman in the world, because I have room for improvement. But if I had the resources that Public Enemy had, come on. I'm just saying. Now, a bit of local news. So, evidently, and I keep having to discuss issues with Maryland and our politicians, our criminal justice system. Like, it gets exhausting. But here we go again. So, this is according to WBAL 11 News, local news station here. There are about 4,000 criminal cases across Maryland that are now under review after new questions about the credibility of a former Maryland State Police firearms expert. Goddamn. 4,000, bitch. That's 4K. 4K TV. Joseph Copera testified at thousands of trials. He retired and took his own life in 2007 when it was revealed he lied about his academic credentials. He killed himself because he knew if he'd stayed alive, his ass was going to go to jail. Now investigators are looking into whether he also forged initials of other employees to cover his work. Okay? So, according to this, WBAL, they asked Baltimore County State Attorney Scott Schellenberger if about the cases. Schellenberger said his office has at least 425 cases just in his office, which the former Maryland State Police firearms expert and tool marks examiner testified. Okay. Prosecutors who may have used Copera as an expert witness have lists of cases to go over, all because Copera may have forged initials and signatures of co-workers on documents. Okay? In 2007, Copare's suicide sparked a similar check of cases statewide when it was revealed he lied about his academic credentials. So they still dealing with this shit. So the state police released a statement to Channel 11. Reviews have been completed on all Copare cases from 2007, 2006, 2005, and 2003. Cases from 2004 are currently undergoing review. In total, more than 450 cases have been reviewed so far, which is a little more than 10% of the case files the Maryland State Police plan to review. Examiners found 50 cases where initials had been forged, indicating the match of evidence had been verified or the case file had been reviewed. There still have been no cases identified in which Copare's examination results were incorrect. The current review has found only violations of department policy and procedure. So they basically saying, yeah, he forged his signatures, he signed off on shit that he wasn't supposed to, but they were still right. So if you're saying here, he forged signatures where it was indicated that the match of evidence had been verified, how do you know that his findings is right? The cases are from 2004 and whatever, from when he, like, these are cases from years ago, 15 or more years. Okay? How do you know that they're right? You don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying, most of these people probably did do the shit. It's Baltimore, it's Maryland, I already know. They probably did. But there may be those few cases where people were wrongfully convicted because he forged in signatures and never even verified if the evidence corroborated the crime or the story. That is a huge problem. A huge problem. And I feel like for those cases, like they said, 50 cases where the initials were forged, in those cases where those initials were forged, I think either those cases need to be thrown out or those people need a new trial. But something needs to happen. I know it's a lot of cases and you're like, oh my God, DM, how are you going to expect them to do all these trials? But this is what causes people to not have faith in the systems that are in place. When you are called to do a job, you are expected to do the job to the utmost capability. I'm just saying, like, I don't understand. We need to have a come to Jesus moment, especially in this state. We need to have a come to Jesus moment in this country. Because there's a lot going on that needs to be addressed and needs to be corrected. And I haven't really been seeing much of this on the news. This story was actually sent to me by a cabinet member by the name of Michael Morstein, who sent the story and thought that I should cover it. And when I looked at it, because, yes, I do look at the stories that people send me. So if you have a suggestion or you think something should be covered, definitely send it to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to actually cover it. It depends on what I'm already covered or what's slated or what pressing issue it is, time, research, whether I can actually adequately speak to it. But I do take, cases and stories and look into them that you guys send. And I want you guys to continue to do that. Leave a message, send a message to my inbox. I don't get to read all of them per se, but I do read through them and try to find, things. So I appreciate that. But it's a lot going on. It's a very important time in our nation's political system. It's politics matter. The one thing, like I said, that I think is great, I've said this previous times, is that in years past, as a general public, we would never be talking about Super Tuesday. We would never be talking about impeachment trials. We would never be learning about delegates. We would never be dissecting, diplomatic and national affairs. So the plus side, the sunny side to everything that's going on, because I have to find a positive somewhere, is that people are actually learning and understanding how these systems work. And I think that's why it's so much outrage going on, because I think the worst thing that the government did was disrupt American life. Because when the people can no longer sleep and live in ignorance and just be like, oh, everything's fine, they wouldn't care. But now you in the hot seat because you disrupted American life. So now, you got fat bitches like me reading and shit, researching and shit. I done did more research papers for this goddamn YouTube channel than I did for any goddamn high school assignment. That's just word to God. But I have faith that things will get better. I'm going to see how Super Tuesday pans out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the button. I have changed my social media, so if you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, it's all one thing now. So it's all Dapper Dan Midas, Dapper Dan Midas. So everything is uniform now. I have my EP, The Ballad of Omar, coming out at the end of next month, I believe. And we're going to be spending a little bit more time in LA. Austin, Texas. I will be seeing you next week. I'll be in Austin from, I believe, the 14th until the 20th. Somewhere around, I think the 22nd or somewhere like that. But I'll be there for South by Southwest. A film that I'm in will be premiering. Shout out to TT the artist, the director, and visionary. It has been picked up by Issa Rae's company, Color Creative. So it's official now, bitch. I'm about to be on the Netflixes and shit. Okay, so I'll thank y'all for your support. But once again, if you're on YouTube, hit the button and subscribe for updates. I hope you guys have a great evening. I can't wait to see how this whole thing pans out. You be safe and God bless.